Who else would you want to end the year with than us three? I mean, really, if you had to choose to end 2023 with any other trio, why wouldn't you want to end it with my favorite Cleveland Cavalier of all time, John Henson, with
I
Jeff
appreciate
Goodman?
that.
And you've got stories, too, that we won't have. And I'm John
Right.
Fanta. Welcome to our New Year's resolution show, everybody. Happy 2024. Resolutions time in the sport of college basketball. Over the next hour, we're picking teams and breaking down the resolutions that they need. Jeff Goodman, before we do the resolutions, give me your end of 2023 where college basketball stands in general.
To me, again, the big boys are pretty good. Like, I think that's the biggest thing we can look at this year as opposed to maybe the last few is, all these big teams. Kansas is good. Kentucky's good. Carolina's pretty good. Duke's starting to find its way. Arizona's really good. I guess, the one that you could say is probably the outlier, UCLA. I mean, they stink right now. But for the most part, most of the blue bloods have been as good as advertised. And I think that's good for the sport because you're going to get a lot of more casual college basketball fans. And again, the ones from the bigger fan bases are going to be paying attention.
Henson, how would you reflect on that? As we end 2023, go into 2024, you played this game, the state of college hoops right now.
It's the basketball from a perspective of basketball, I think good as it's ever been. There's not necessarily all these freshman teams, these young guys running around. You have older teams. I mean, fifth year seniors laden rosters. I think Memphis's average age is 25. Like, this is it's just high level basketball right now because you have older, more mature players. Players are staying because of NIL. The game of college basketball is more entertaining than it's ever been. There's a lot of more parity than we maybe expected throughout, the season this year. And I mean, there's a legitimate 7 to 10 teams that could win this whole thing. So the game is in a great spot, and it's going to be a beautiful March to see what happens. I think seeding is going to be more important than ever this year, matchups and everything.
Yeah, the road to March is on. Let's get right to it. Okay, one of those teams, when you say 7 to 10 teams, one of those teams has to be the team that we begin with. So, folks, we're providing New Year's resolutions. We begin with the Purdue Boilermakers, the Maui Invitational champions, a win over Arizona. Jeff Goodman, if you were to provide Matt Painter and his Boilers with a resolution, what is it?
Not to have to see Robbie Hummel do any of his games again for the rest of the year. That would be my personal resolution. No. All right, here's my real resolution for Matt Painter and Purdue. Send Fletcher Lawyer down to me in Charleston for the next week. And we're going to go out to dinner. We're going to have banana pudding, a lot of it. And Fletcher Lawyer is going to come back 10 pounds heavier. And he's going to be more physical. He's going to be able to absorb the contact because Fletcher Lawyer looks like he's like 155 pounds. And he's going to be more consistent when I fatten him up down here in Charleston.
Henson?
I love Jeff is in Charleston. I had one of the worst upsets of my college career down there. I don't ever want to see that city again. But on another note, I'm going to go – let's go backcourt defense, New Year's resolution. Caleb Love had 29. Mark Sears had 35. Boo Boo had 31. This could be their downfall if there is going to be a downfall for this Purdue team. If you think about the teams at the top of the rankings, Kentucky, the Dukes, the UConn, UNC, A&M, they all have kind of game-changing guard play that if Purdue doesn't figure this thing out, you give a guy 30 points in a tournament, you're probably going to lose. So that's what I would say their resolution needs to be. Some backcourt defense along, that goes with Jeff giving Fletcher Lawyer the banana pudding. That is going to help him be a little more stout on the other end.
My New Year's resolution for Purdue would be this. Just plan right now to put the phones in a bin March the 1st. Plan it right now. Make that your resolution. Put them away. Jay Wright did it with Villanova in 2016 and 18. Look what it did. And we talk about Virginia not being able to win a national championship and then having redemption. Villanova had to deal with the same thing. This isn't new in college basketball. Just plan right now, March the 1st, put the phones away. Look, the obvious resolution would be, and Jeff, I'll get your thought here. Like, yeah, if Lawyer, Smith, Edey, we know that trio, the obvious resolution is, okay, what if Lawyer's having a really bad day? Is it a Lance Jones, or is it a Miles Colvin, or is it a First or Gillis who's stepping up? Who is that? But the fact is, it does feel like, to beat the elite, that trio's got to be really good collectively.
And Braden Smith's been there. Like, I'm not worried about Braden Smith anymore. That's why I'm saying Lawyer is the X factor for me. You know, you got a lot of four-man. Painter still doesn't know. I think it's going to be based on matchups more than anything else. He wanted to go with Kaufman-Wren, but I think he's realized, like, that's not the ultimate answer, maybe against certain teams. But it's Lawyer. Honestly, it's plain and simple. It's Fletcher Lawyer, because when he's making shots, they're pretty tough to beat. Really tough to beat.
There it is. But there's not much to resolve for that team. Put the phones in a bin March 1st. You guys know this. They're going to hear it all. They're going to get every question before that first tournament game of, can you do it? What have you been doing? Have you brought in a team therapist or psychologist? Put them away, block out the noise, and go. Let's turn to the reigning national champions, the Connecticut Huskies, who ran ship through non-conference play. Just the one loss to Kansas, a stumble to Seton Hall to start Big East play. Historically, that's not new for them. They've won only 4 of their last 20 conference openers. John Henson, Connecticut, the New Year's resolution. Go.
I'm going to go with their resolution. Winning is not boring. They have just as good as any chance to win it all. Believe that you guys can do this thing again, like the Florida teams in the past. I know it's been a long time, but on the outset, they look better than they were early last year against a more open field. So, hey, winning is not boring, UConn. Hey, look, you win the Seton Hall, you kind of laid an egg, but I think that was a game where they kind of rested on their laurels a little bit, and Seton Hall came and, stung them. Yeah, winning isn't boring. UConn, keep it going. Hey, look, it's tough to win 2 in a row. The Georgia Bulldogs were going on 3 in a row in football-wise. So, hey, just keep winning.
All right. Here's my New Year's resolution for UConn. For Andrea Hurley, the wife of one Dan Hurley. No more washing your husband's dragon underwear or any underwear. Okay? Let him do it himself. Do not wash it on the road. I don't care what he says. Make him, if he wants to do it, let him do it. If not, let him go out and buy another pair of underwear at the store. I don't care. Enough, Andrea. Enough. You should not have to do this anymore. All right. On a serious note now. Do not let Donovan Clingan walk around campus anymore. Okay? I want him on a golf cart everywhere. I want him in a car, on a golf cart. I do not want him walking anywhere. I want that boot on him all year. I want to make sure his foot is as healthy as it can be. For the end, the only time Donovan Clingan will be walking is on the basketball court. That's it. Okay? Because without him, UConn is not defending a national title. They're not going another Final Four again. They may not get out of the first weekend without a healthy Donovan Clingan.
My New Year's resolution for Connecticut goes along the lines of what John Henson said of, don't fall into, we've been winning so much, maybe we need a little bit of drama. My resolution would be, don't wear down to the Big East. The Big East is tough. It's challenging. But it's interesting that UConn has had their ruts in the Big East as opposed to these non-conference teams. That when they ended up losing to Seton Hall, that made them 14-10 in their last 24 games against Big East competition. Don't wear down to the Big East. And I think the biggest thing, resolution-wise, for this team is you've got to find and tap into the best way to get Stephon Castle to take off. Take off. Will that freshman be able to fully deliver on a lot of the potential that we were buying into? Because if he does, and assuming that Jeff with Klingon, that he's able to stay healthy for them, Castle to me is the guy that can shift them into a whole different gear if he starts to live up to the potential. The issue is the resolution for Castle would be, can he get in the lab and work on that jump shot?
I like that.
Don't know. That's the Connecticut Huskies' New Year's resolution. Let's go out west to Mr. Goodman's alma mater, the Arizona Wildcats. So we go to Tucson here. Tommy Lloyd, it's amazing, Jeff, how much he's won in such a short period of time, regular season-wise. Okay, so what's your resolution for Arizona?
So my resolution for Tommy Lloyd is when they beat UCLA on January 20th, for the final time that those two programs will match up as Pac-12 members, Tommy Lloyd gets his butt to Dirtbags to celebrate. Tommy Lloyd has yet to be at my old stomping grounds, Dirtbags, which is an institution in Tucson. Maybe not of higher learning, but of some sort of learning, because I did learn plenty at Dirtbags back in the day. But he needs to go there and experience what it's like to be at Dirtbags after a big win like they're going to get on January 20th against Mick Cronin in UCLA. On a more serious note, the New Year's resolution is for Caleb Love. Continue what you're doing. Defend. Play, good defense for the most part. As Henson knows, that wasn't the case a year ago at North Carolina. And pick your spots offensively. I love him because at times he's deferred, and then at times he's known, like obviously late in the game against Alabama, he kind of took over and forced the issue. So I think this version of Caleb Love is a version that can get Arizona to the Final Four.
Henson.
I'm going to go a little bit funny, but really serious. Do everything you can do not to see Purdue until it's time to, for all the marbles. They fought back from 15 early in a Purdue Edie favorite home crowd. Love and Johnson had 53 combined. Smith and Lawyer played out of their minds. They're really the only team that I personally can see at this moment that can really compete with Purdue at this time, barring injuries and everything it says the same. So if Arizona can get a number one seed potentially on the other side of the bracket and match up with Purdue when it's the final game, I think they'll be fine. So that's my resolution. See Purdue as late as possible. So they need to keep winning and potentially get that number one seed so they don't have to see them until at least the Final Four.
I want your take on this, Jeff, because my resolution would be find bubble wrap. Because I think that starting five, Jeff, is really good. They're collected. But you even look at a recent win for the Wildcats over Alabama, and you look at that bench, and it's KJ Lewis was able to give them some good production, but it wasn't much after that. That five is outstanding. They've got it clicking, and Caleb Love when he's in that gear. But Arizona's not the deepest team, Jeff Good.
I don't know. I mean, Krivas is okay, backing up Ballo. KJ Lewis is pretty good, and Jaden Bradley. I understand what you're saying. I actually think Arizona is one of the few teams that could lose a guy and still be okay. That's the only thing I'd say to that. They're not dependent on one dude. They've got five really good starters. I actually think Keyshawn Johnson might be the most important player on Arizona's team, and I rarely say that about a non-point guard, but I really do think without Keyshawn Johnson, they're a completely different team.
Why do you say that?
I mean, he's just that big athletic wing that is so active and really good defensively. He anchors the defense in a lot of ways. And on the offensive end, he flies around. He makes it difficult for the opposing big, and he can step out and make shots now.
Championship caliber player.
Yeah,
right? Sure. you see it come out of him, Henson, that he played in that game and came up just short. But Keyshawn Johnson was as big of a transfer pickup by any of the elite teams that you're going to find.
He's just got that calm, just cool, collected demeanor, been there, done that. And I think that is such a big deal in big moments on a team that's pretty much expected to win every night.
Yes, they are. And that's because they've done a lot of it. We'll see if Arizona can continue to do that in the new year. I can't wait to see them, guys. I know, Jeff, you're a Pac-12 guy.
Yeah.
But like Arizona, Kansas, Arizona, Houston, Arizona, Baylor, among others next year, that's going to be wild. McHale's going to be off the hook. Right?
Yeah, no doubt. No, listen, absolutely. I mean, again, this Arizona team is so different than the past couple for Tommy Lloyd because they can guard. That's the difference. They can score and they can guard.
Here we go. Let's go to Durham. Let's go to Duke, the Blue Devils, and how fitting it is that John Henson is going to deliver a New Year's resolution for Duke. What is it, Henson?
I'm going to go. They got to take the training wheels off. It's time to renew his resolution, take the training wheels off. McCain and Foster, they need to keep growing up. Last night was a step in the right direction. You know, with Proctor out, the leash has been lengthened a little bit, and it's going well. I mean, they're clicking, they're playing well. They look good as a team. I think similar to Lively and Whitehead, what they did last year, they kind of let the reins go and let them guys play and come into their own. Duke's going to have to do that to be the best version of themselves, which was number 2 preseason, top 5 preseason potential national championship, pick and aspirations. So, yeah, my New Year's resolution is John Shire, take those training wheels off those boys. You got to let them rock out now, man. It's time.
I like it. Mm-hmm. Listen, mine's a little different. All right, so Tyrese Proctor's been hurt. Before he got injured, he didn't show a lot of tenacity, right? Super cool Australian, doesn't play with a lot of vigor, like just kind of chill, right? Too chill. So mine's kind of a little bit of a resolution and also a little gift for Tyrese. I'm going to send Christian Laettner down there for 2 weeks to spend with Tyrese Proctor, to get up in him, to yell and scream at him. Because Christian Laettner was a MFer, as we know, and he played with intensity. He played with passion. Everybody loved or hated him. If you're a Duke fan, you loved him back then. But I think that's what Tyrese Proctor needs. Somebody to get up in his face and challenge him. That's what he needs most.
If you're going to send Christian Laettner down there, I'll send Gordon Ramsay down there. I want the whole team. Develop an edge. Like, right now, they're making good food. I like it. But I want to love it. And to me, it's just that you see signs. You see pieces. We've seen these glimpses in this John Shire era. And is it easy for everything just to come to life and fully to fruition? No, but at the end of the day, they were a team that we genuinely thought was preseason top 3, 2, if not 1. Some people had them 1. To me, where is that when they're playing? Where's that tenacity? You see it out of Kansas. Guys, you see it out of Kansas. Even though they haven't had shooting at the 2 spot, and even though they've had some flaws of their own, it feels like the will comes out of them. That, yeah, we're supposed to do this. Duke, where's that? Where is that as the new year hits? And you know what else? I am hiring, if I could find a road control coach, Goodman, someone that specifically travels with Shire and just unlocks that ability now to win on the road, because this is an issue for the Blue Devils, and the ACC's better, and there will be tough road games.
Well, they don't play a lot of games on the road. That's their problem in the non-conference. So it's almost like a little bit of a culture shock for some of the young guys, especially. But I think Jared McCain certainly showed that with Proctor out, he's got a little fire to him, and maybe that helps motivate Proctor as well.
Let's turn to this blue blood. Now, I'm really intrigued to hear the resolutions here. Okay. Big Blue Nation, it's your time. It's your time. 2024 is here. This feels like, guys, 2024 feels like it's going to be a big year for Big Blue Nation. So, Jeff, what's the resolution for BBN and for Kentucky and Calipari? Oh, my God.
Ooh.
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. John Calipari. Last I checked, Reed Sheppard is 4th on the team in minutes. Come on, Cal. Like, we need more time of Reed Sheppard on the court, period. He is the straw that stirs the drink with Kentucky. And what I mean by that, and he's very different, right? But he makes everybody better. He connects everybody. He moves the ball. He's not about scoring. He can make people better, but he can score when he wants to. He can make threes. They're just better. They're more efficient with Reed Sheppard on the court. Do not. I know Aaron Bradshaw came back, and I love him. Whatever you do, don't take minutes away from Reed Sheppard. Increase minutes for Reed. I'd rather see more minutes from Sheppard than anybody else in this team because I think he's that valuable. And it's like playing with – he's a freshman, but he plays like a senior in so much of what he does, his decision-making, his basketball IQ, his ability to just make everybody around him better. So that's what I would have to say to John Calipari.
I'm going to go – their resolution should be able to handle prosperity. This is probably the best they've looked in years in reference to the talent, shooting, and playmaking. They've got 2 pros off the bench. Usually in the past, when they've had pros come off the bench, they've been pretty damn good. Everyone's singing their praises right now. They just beat UNC. They're finally looking good. They got to be able to handle the press clippings because this SEC schedule is daunting. And this is going to make or break them as a team, but they have to be able to handle the highs and also the lows and stay even keeled. And this team will be there at the end, specifically in the SEC race. So, yeah, be able to handle a little prosperity. You guys are looking good right now, but this is just the beginning.
My resolution, play the right 5. Don't give in, Cal, to what agents are saying or what somebody's saying or what somebody has to have done for them and their agenda because they signed up for Kentucky, but this was part of the payoff. That my resolution is stick to your guns. Stick to your guns. Play the best 5. Down the stretch in games, who gives you the best chance to win? And that's probably my resolution. If I knew right now, gentlemen, and I know you could say, well, wouldn't you be able to, John, say this about a lot of teams? But if I told you, Jeff Goodman, that Kentucky had a master in the last 3 minutes of games, 3.5 minutes of games, like they're going to be in any and all situations. If they get beat, like Henson said, it's probably because they're going to go on the road in the SEC and they won't be close because they're going to have a bad day and they lose their focus. But I think if you told me right now, they're going to have an X's and O's late game execution artist down the stretch in games with this group, I don't know what would keep them from potentially making a Final Four.
I'll say this. Rob Dillingham has been incredibly efficient so far this year, which I did not see coming after watching him on the AAU circuit. I thought he was incredibly inefficient when I watched him on the AAU circuit. So that has been really, really impressive to me, the kind of maturity that he's shown. So those two, see, I would have, and it's crazy. Listen, to me, Dillingham and Sheppard are 2 that I would have out there at all crunch time because Dillingham can make something out of nothing whenever he wants, right? Sheppard, again, makes everybody better.
Coming off the bench? Are you good with them coming off the bench?
I would have Dillingham. I don't care if he's coming off the bench or not. I don't care about the start of the game. I just care about the end of the game, last 4 minutes. And I would have Dillingham on the floor. I would have Sheppard on the floor. I'm eventually going to have Bradshaw on the floor. And you probably need Reeves on the floor for his floor spacing. But if Reeves isn't making shots, I might have all 4 guards in Bradshaw. I might just go with all 4 guards in Bradshaw. And I don't know if they can rebound well enough. I think that's something to be determined. But if you feed Bradshaw 25, 28 minutes every night, man, I still say, to me, he's in the conversation as the number one overall pick. I think he's that talented.
I mean, he made I would say the biggest play of that UNC game when he gets to N1 to kind of pull them ahead and kind of solidify that. So, without him down there, who knows where that game goes. So I agree, man. Get him out there.
Jeff, before we get to our next Blue Blood, I do want to ask you this. Like, what you're bringing up, it seems self-explanatory, too, with the level of player down the stretch in the game, because those guys have been the hot hands. How much do you feel that's a reality in Lexington, that when you've got these mixture of personalities and scouts and agents and everything, that circles can determine what happens?
Well, listen, Trey Mitchell did a great job early for him. He did a great job while Bradshaw was hurt. But ultimately, he's the one that I would, unless it's matchup based, I would say he's the one who's going to suffer the most. According to me, what I would do minutes-wise. He's not a great defender. He doesn't really give you a lot of length. Yeah, he was able to step out and make shots from three. But I think you've got enough other guys who can do that now. Like, I didn't know if you could before, but Shepard, Dillingham, Reeves, Wagner's not a really good shooter. But yeah, I think you got enough that, honestly, I think Trey Mitchell's a good 18-minute-a-game guy when it matters down the stretch at the end of the year.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today.
Let's go from Lexington to Lawrence, guys. Kansas, the Jayhawks, national championship hopes are alive and well there. The Jayhawks, I mean, the only stumble came at the Maui Invitational to Marquette, and then they recovered and they beat a really good Tennessee team. And every time that doubt has entered the equation within a game, like it did at Assembly Hall, they keep finding ways. So, John Henson, what's the resolution for Kansas in 2024?
John, you set me up for the lob for my resolution. I'm going to say Kansas New Year resolution, keep grinding. The roster doesn't scare you. They look kind of sketchy at Indiana. They were down by 14 to Kentucky, but they locked in and they grinded out those wins. I think that's a credit to Self and his staff. And, they're battle-tested. They're tough. They've got older guys, obviously, and they've beat Kentucky. They've beat Tennessee. You kind of beat these really good teams. So, Kansas, keep grinding. Keep grinding out these games, grinding out these wins, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 20. The only time being close matters is in horseshoes and hand grenades. So just keep winning.
Listen, I think the resolution for me is easy. Get all those dudes, other than Hunter and McCullough right now, get in the gym and shoot all the time. Like, I don't even know if they need practice right now, a full practice. I honestly think they just need to shoot the entire practice, Henson. Just get in there. Johnny Furphy, Nick Timberlake. And I also think Bill Self's just got to feed those guys minutes. take a loss if you have to, because ultimately Bill Self knows better than anybody. All that matters is really March and April. And if you can get Johnny Furphy going, he also needs to come down with Fletcher Lawyer with me to Charleston, and I'll take them both out for dinner because they both need to add about 10, 15 pounds. But Timberlake, Furphy, El Marco, those guys, DeJuan Harris, you've got to shoot more, dude. You can't be passive. It's great that you love to set up your teammates, but ultimately you have to be a threat offensively, shooting the ball every game. Not 1 out of every 4 games, every single game.
Hey, broke this last week. In the last 2 years, after this ended up happening after the Indiana win, when DeJuan Harris scores 7 or more points in a game over the last 2 seasons, Kansas is 24-1. You can't argue with that. But I guess the question then is, on a team that's frankly weak at the 2 spot, and he's a veteran and has earned the leash, why isn't he shooting the ball more?
It's not how he's wired.
I think, yes, I was going to say that's it's in his innate nature. He's a point guard. I mean, he's a pure point guard. He defends. He enjoys getting his teammates involved. He's just not an aggressive scorer. And I can say that from experience. I was told that my whole life. Be more aggressive. Shoot more. You need to score more. It just wasn't in me. Now, I could score when I got the ball, and I wasn't like a offensive detriment per se, especially in college. But, yeah, I would rather throw the ball over my head to see Z dunk it. Or, hey, look, I would rather make that dime or kick it out to the 3 and see my teammate make a shot. I don't know. It was just in me. So I feel him, but at the same time, I wasn't the lead guard on a team that needed me to score. I had a lot of scores, so it was a little easier for me to blend in.
Hey, Fanta, Henson was way, way too nice of a guy. He was. Like, you'd hear that all the time around the program. Like, this dude's too nice, too passive. We wish he had some MF. Or what can we do to get him pissed off? And I think it's the same thing for DeJuan Harris. What can you do to get him a little bit mad, angry? Because let's face it, like the end of the Indiana game, when it came down to it, like he made a huge drive and shot high off the glass to kind of almost like, I mean, everybody stepped up at the end, but when he needs to, he can. He's shown the ability. I mean, in Chicago, against Kentucky, what did he go 5 for 6 from 3? So he can do it. It's just like, why not consistently? I don't know.
And John, have you ever heard of a passive needs to be more effort 2-time defensive player of the year? Like, that's what I had to deal with there. You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, my next question was, and then I'll have Jeff give it, what was Roy's New Year's resolution for you, Henson, when you were playing?
So people called me passive, and like people thought, hey, they need to, but I had the most texts out of all players every year. And we had to run for those. True? So like, yes, 100%. I got texts. I got a text at Florida State. I got texts, man. Like nobody really knows.
No, stop. What's the best tech? What's the wildest tech you ever got?
We were playing Florida State. Obviously, it was a hype game. We were down. We struggled against Florida State. Carl White has the ball in our hand. Well, Carl White was actually from the same area, so we had some battles. I snatched the ball out of his hand. Ref calls a tech. Coach looks at me. It's a look that the look, and we got to practice. He said, "Everybody on the line. We're going to run for John since he wants to snatch the ball out of guys' hands when we're down 20." I said, "Sorry, fellas," and we ran. But you know what? That's just kind of I used to get really emotionally involved in games sometimes, and I would lose myself. So
let's stick in the ACC with the Virginia Cavaliers. Now they need a resolution. Okay, they need a New Year's resolution. Jeff Goodman, what is it for Tony Bennett and UVA?
I mean, they need a pro. They need NBA players. They're just not talented enough. They're good, especially up front. Caden Shedrick leaving really hurt them through the transfer portal last offseason. And, I just worry about Tony Bennett. I've said this before. I just worry about him because I don't think he's all in this NIL game. I think certainly, obviously he's doing it. But I think so much of what Tony Bennett did to be able to play at the highest level, and John knows this, he would evaluate, he would develop. He would keep them in the program and develop them, whether it's Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, Malcolm Brogdon, you name it. Like, these dudes were in the program and they had a chance to get older and get better through Tony Bennett and his staff. And I just feel like in this time period, that is awfully difficult for Tony Bennett to navigate it that way. So, again, I just don't know what Tony Bennett is going to do, because I don't think he's going to sell out and start giving guys $1 million for NIL. And I think he needs some higher end talent, period.
Yeah, on the NIL tip, actually, Jeff, apparently UVA has one of the best, I guess, fairest, we'll call it fairest NIL systems in the country. So fair, as we know, doesn't win in NIL. So that's a whole nother topic. But I'm going to go for their New Year's resolution. Help Reese Beekman. He carries the load on offense and defense. He scores, he assists. He's asked to run the show. And he's good, but he's not the type of guy that can carry a top 25 squad alone. I mean, he's a 3-level scorer, 5-to-1 assist-turnover ratio, defensive player of the year last year in the ACC. I mean, what more do you want from this guy, right? He's got to bring someone along, or Tony Bennett's got to get some guys that can help him, because he's a great complementary player, but he's not a lead guy. And he's doing all he can to help this Virginia team at least stay above water at least until they can kind of get to the tournament and maybe lock in and make some noise.
My resolution would be, honestly, I'd love to see him just try I know that this isn't going to happen, but I'd love to see him try to let loose a little bit. Because it's one thing, Jeff, when you bring up they could use an NBA player, and I wholeheartedly agree. But it just feels like when you don't then have that player, when you don't have another one of those guys, when you're missing that player from your team, then the style that you're trying to play can be square peg, round hole, because the personnel doesn't allow for you to do that. We saw that in the Northeastern game where they barely survived. That's where, when you play that way, a Bill Cohen looks at it on the other side and he's like, damn, it's not like we're that out-talented. It's not like we're that out-talented. And now we're playing a team that, by virtue of Virginia, wants it to be 56 to 54, 64 to 59. So I think that's my thing, guys. Like, it's one, the Bennett, the NIL game, but it's also this whole thing that I feel like it's just so hard to continue to play the style that they play at when you look at their personnel from top to bottom.
I got the fortunate opportunity to speak with Coach Larinaga last weekend and Coach Dunphy at length. And two of the things I came away from them when I asked about their longevity was, you have to evolve. You have to adapt. You have to take it year by year and just try to be the best. And I think Coach Bennett is going to have to try to evolve, because if you look at where the game is going, I mean, from an NBA perspective, the year the Warriors won the championship with KD, they were the number one offensive team. They would be 18th this year. It's only 6 years ago. So he's got to figure that out and maybe recruit a different style of player or change his style of play.
Great perspective. That's terrific perspective. It's something that Larinaga talked a lot about at the Final Four last year. Let's go to the Big Ten, guys. Let's go to Michigan State. The Spartans. Jeff Goodman, what's your resolution for Thomas Izzo?
This is so easy. So easy. I'm going to give him, make sure that from now on, Tom Izzo carries around the login and password for the transfer portal in his pocket. All right? In his pocket at all times, Izzo. You are going to have that damn login. You're going to thomas.izzo@msu.edu. And then Steven, maybe, is his password. Probably for his son, Steven, maybe.
The team.
Who, by the way, missed his 2 free throws a couple weeks ago when Tom can hit like 80 in a row. So that couldn't have been good for Tom. But yeah, like go to the portal, my man. Like all you needed to do, I know you're loyal to your guys, and that's part of the reason he didn't go to the portal for a big man. But they don't have anybody right now who's any sort of threat on either end, really, at the 5-man spot. And all he had to do was go to the portal and get somebody, an experienced dude who could give him like 10 and 7 every night, and this team would be totally different. And you could have gotten somebody, not just a 5-man from the portal, you could have gotten somebody else because, to me, you're not winning without going to the portal.
I am going to go a little more positive because it is New Year, right, guys? Let's go keep chopping wood. That's going to be the New Year's resolution. Obviously, the much-discussed Michigan State Spartans have not started well. They've set some records of futility as far as being a top-ranked preseason team. But they just beat the brakes off a good Baylor team, and they're starting to round into form just in time for the Big Ten run where they're going to have to make some noise. I think they're going to have to probably be at least 5 to 6 games over 500 to maybe not sneak in. So, yeah, just keep chopping wood, take it game by game, and see where that leads. They're trending in a good direction right now, so I can't really say anything else about them. Just keep going.
My New Year's resolution for Michigan State is simple. A little bit similar to Virginia, but I don't think it's going to happen in Virginia, but it's happening at Michigan State. You have to play faster with this team. You clearly don't have answers at the 5 slot, so going smaller gives you your best chance to score, or else you're playing 4-on-5. They had 21 fast break points against Baylor, and they got out on the run. They got in the open court. For a team that has really struggled to score the ball at times, sometimes you got to make it easier on yourselves. Can Michigan State run? Jeff, do they have the personnel to run?
Of course. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Got to do it. Let's go.
I also think I think with Michigan State, the one final thing I'll add here is, as much as I love Tyson Walker, and I do, if he's your number 1 guy, I'm not sure how deep you can go. If he's your number 2, if he's your Robin, then you got a really, really good team. But I just don't know if he's the dude who can carry you night in and night out.
And that's probably another thing with Michigan State. Minutes allotment is those ability to play those freshmen through some mistakes. Keep playing, because Cohen Carr does good things. Got to ride him maybe even a little bit more. Jeremy Fears, it's been a mixed bag. More than anything, though, AJ Hogard, let your play do the talking. Let your play do the up and down. All right, this is a really interesting one. Okay? The Memphis Tigers, baby. The Memphis Tigers. And Goodman, you look like you're ready for this one, so I'm going to you on this one first.
Well, let me start with an apology to Penny Hardaway, because a year ago I asked the question, is he the right guy for Memphis? And he's proven me wrong, because he's done a great job with this team this year, and I applaud him. First of all, the resolution should be keep playing a really good schedule in the non-conference, because it's worked out for you. If you play enough good teams, you knock off some, and to be honest, like, that's going to be good enough. And they've got a very old team. At one point, their starting 5 was Memphis was their 3rd school. All right. But here's what my New Year's resolution of Penny is. Keep listening to Slick Rick. You hired Slick Rick Stansbury, the former coach of Mississippi State, then Western Kentucky. I've always said he's a top 5 recruiter in the country, feared-wise. Well, Slick Rick, Penny's reputation had been that he wasn't listening to former assistants for years, for the first few years since he took over. He listened to Slick Rick enough to say, like, all right, Slick helped get him David Jones. Slick helped get him Quinterly late, both late additions in the summer. Slick helped get him Naquan Tomlin, who we don't know, when he's going to play, if he's going to play, how much he'll play. But those are 3 dudes. So last I checked, Slick can still recruit. So keep listening to Slick, because he knows what he's doing out there. He's been doing it a long, long time. And there's a reason. There's a reason most coaches, when they see Slick enter the gym, they get the hell out of there.
I like that. I'm gonna go, no pun intended, stay hungry. You know, they've got the most combined quad 1 and 2 wins in the country along with Purdue. Their conference schedule, as we know, is going to be underwhelming. So, you know, they have to stay locked in. They have to stay hungry. They're going to probably run through that conference, barring, you know, obviously with the FAU. It's going to be a battle. But they won at A&M. They beat Clemson. They throttled UVA. They got David Jones, who was the breakout player of the year, 5 straight games of 20 or more. Their resume right now is elite. It would get them probably a 2 or 3 seed right now. So stay hungry. I know conference play is going to be underwhelming, but no letdowns. They need to come into the FAU game with a lot of momentum and steam and that ready to show the country that they're for real or not for real. We don't know. So stay hungry, guys.
I'm going to zone in on Javon Quinterly for this. Quinterly has had an up and down overall career. This is your chance to have a last word in the college game. So my resolution for Quinterly is take a step back, stay under control. Stay under control, because when you get out of control, it can lead to the other side of things. As explosive as he can be for the good, it can go in the other end. And I think that that's the collective nature for Memphis. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. They've got talent now. David Jones is a bucket. Know that. Know that. Know that he's got to be the guy in these situations. And I think that for Quinterly, let's face it, this has been a polarizing career for a variety of reasons. All right? He's been liked by some. He hasn't been liked by everybody. Here's his chance to write the last word. Stay under control. Memphis, you can write a story here. I mean, it gets forgotten, Jeff. Memphis could have beaten FAU last year.
Yes.
Right.
All right, we've got one more team to get to, and then some final thoughts here. We go to Omaha for Greg McDermott's Creighton Blue Jays. This was a team that people thought could be a Final Four squad, but John Henson, they have had some struggles. What do you think?
I'm going to go New Year's resolution. This was a little tougher, but I'm going to go attention to detail. They lack the above the rim athleticism that, you know, a lot of these top tier teams have. So when you lack it above the rim, you have to do more below the rim. They missed free throws last night, had 16 turnovers. It seems in these games they struggle. It's always something kind of weird and wonky. They gave up 40 fast break points to UNLV. You know, if they're not making shots, they look kind of normal, which we can say that about a lot of teams, but Creighton is, you know, one of those teams that we expect to be in the top tier of teams in the Big East in the country. So long story short, they need to sit down with each other and say, look, we can't make as many mistakes as we used to. We don't have the talent or athleticism that we made, that these other teams that we are playing have. So we got to pay attention to detail, and we'll be all right.
All right, so first thing you got to do, Greg McDermott, next time you retire your son's jersey, Douglas, do it on a night when DePaul is coming to town, not Villanova. All right? That way you're not going to lose the game. All right? So that's number one. Number two, I think somehow you got to find a way to get this team a little bit tougher in the defensive end. They were good against Villanova in the first half, and then Villanova got going in the second half. I don't know what that means. I don't know. Maybe you play like Eye of the Tiger before they all get out of the locker room or something. But I feel like you got to get these guys geared up, not just to score, but to defend. Take pride in your defense, because you put too much pressure on Ryan Kalkbrenner. And I don't know why everybody's calling him Kalkenbrenner now, by the way. Everywhere I hear, everybody's calling him Kalkenbrenner. It's Kalkbrenner, all right? And you're putting all this pressure on poor Ryan Kalkbrenner defensively, because these other dudes just aren't taking enough pride, and maybe they're not good enough. You know, maybe they're not good enough defensively. Yeah. But I think, and John Henson was a National Player of the Year. You can speak to this. A lot of it is pride and effort. A lot of being great defensively, is it not?
And it's pride and effort, but, you know, credit to my team, which was a blessing. I was never kind of coast on offense, you know, and not be super involved. which allowed me to play better defense. So for him to have that defensive load and offensive load, it's as you saw last night in the second half, he kind of faltered a little bit. And I think that's just because too much is put on his shoulder, like Jeff. It's just too much. I mean, like so the Beekman's theory is like, what else do you want from him at this point?
I'm with you both. The lack of athleticism is glaring, and if I could untrade someone from the portal, man, I'd still like to see Ryan Nembhard at Creighton. I really would.
Kaluma too.
That move sent ripple effects for both Gonzaga and Creighton. Stephen Ashworth, great kid, awesome guy. It just hasn't fully clicked. So I think the resolution I would be is I'd get Ashworth, Trey Alexander, and Baylor Sharman in a room and say, guys, what's it going to take? What's it going to take for us to find a happy medium?
They got to be tough.
Get the state. Yeah, they couldn't get the state guys down there to meet guys to give them some NIL money. Like, what's going on?
Right. Hey, here's the thing. They were in a worse place last year.
Yeah.
And Greg McDermott.
They lost 6 straight. But Kalkbrenner had mono. That was the big part of that one. There's no excuse like that for this one other than the fact that these dudes just aren't – they're not playing with that chip on their shoulder. They're not playing tough. They're not playing mean. Like when Henson gives you the mean mug, that's when you know. That's when you know he's arrived, right? Like big difference. I want to see the mean mug on those dudes.
Mean mug in Omaha. Eat some red meat and develop a mean mug. Before we get off the show, well, I have 7 seconds. When you said that you wanted UConn to keep Donovan Clingan on a golf cart, when you said I thought you were going to say keep Doster away from your team.
Well, that actually, you're right. Like, no question, keeping Doster as far away from UConn. Hurley's tried it. He's tried it. I think he's gotten a restraining order. Doster just keeps coming back for more.
Got to have the red slips like the NBA, like the warning slip. Hey, Doster, if you do one more thing, you're tossed from the arena for good.
We wish all of you a happy and healthy new year, and let's enjoy the sport that we all love. College basketball's in a great place. Happy 2024.